بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Rahmatullah, welcome everybody to the Monthly Reflections podcast. We're on the way to the studio now, so bear with us for a few minutes. If you're tuning in later on Spotify, this is what London sounds like. It sounds like cars and traffic and people going in different places. Salam, Agha Nabil. Give me a minute to get inside and then we'll get going. Assalamu alaikum everybody, welcome so much. Inshallah you are well. Hang on. There we go. I am now, I'll tell you, I'm currently at the Hausa. It's the Hausa in London. And some of the teachers and students had a dinner just now. Salam, Sheikh, how are you?
Alaikum salam. Fine, thank you. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me? Is my voice coming to you, Agha?
It is. It's a bit, it's cutting out a bit, but
Ah.
yeah, I can hear you.
I'm
One
just
second.
going now to the studio which is being prepared for me. So apologies for my my appearance. Do you want to come in the video very quickly? Sheikh Hassan Roshandale is running away so he doesn't get shy to come on camera. Come in quickly, come in quickly, Agha. Salam from Sheikh Hassan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. How are you, Shaykhana?
But
How
I
are you?
can see you're saying some good stuff, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's good to see you. We have mutual
Nice
friends,
to meet you.
Sheikh Shirley Walji. He's
Yeah,
said a lot
yeah,
of
yeah,
good
yeah,
things
we do,
about
yeah.
yourself. Inshallah, you're
Alhamdulillah.
doing well. I won't take more of the time here. Please go ahead with the podcast.
Inshallah, thank
You
you.
need to connect to the internet.
Yeah, I did the Wi-Fi very quickly because I'm on 4G right now. Do you have the code?
Yeah, go.
All right, Sheikh, this is part of the teething issues of a podcast, so just sit tight for 1 second, please.
Going live,
Get
yeah?
on the internet. 1 second, 1 second. Have you got the Wi-Fi code?
Yeah.
All right, 1 second. People who are there, please stay there. Do you have an iPhone charger? Okay. Sheikh Nabil, thank you. Hang on.
No worries.
Perfect. Bro, we're live. We're ready to go. You have my bag. Can you bring it inside and keep it inside? All right. Sorry, Sheikh. There's ulama walking around just giving me different tasks. So apologies for that. All right, I'm going to get going. You can just keep it in. Okay. Alaikum salam to everyone here. Sheikh, salam alaikum properly, formally now. Inshallah, you're well.
Yeah, good, thank you. Alhamdulillah.
Thanks for your patience. How are you doing?
Yes. Good. Just adjusting to UK fasts.
Oh yeah, you just got back, didn't you? Where have you been?
I was in Dar es Salaam for the last 2-3 months.
If
So,
anyone's listening from Dar es Salaam right now, I know you love Sheikh, but he belongs to the UK. Can you let us have more of him, please? I don't know, you are taking so much of him that we miss him. Yeah, but you're back now, yeah?
yeah. For a day or so, and then I'm off again.
Where are you going now?
Dubai. So I'm ahead for the last couple of weeks of Shahr Ramadan. I'm gonna be in Satwa in Dubai.
You know, I lived in Dubai and I used to go to Satwa when I was a kid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Subhanallah. So we should have like a Maqam Farshuri there.
No, I think it would be a very naughty place. I mean, I used to run around. I never still in the lectures, so I don't think it would be a good place to celebrate. Yeah, I was born in South London, and then I lived in Dubai for 7 years, and then I came back to the UK. So yeah,
As you do.
yeah, it was beautiful there. You don't tell me Satwa want to keep you as well. We're already fighting everyone off to keep you in the UK. Have I got to fight them too? What is this?
Who knows? But inshallah, no. Let's UK is home. Sorry, everyone in Dar.
Yeah. Let me ask you. There are people in Dar who are commenting, and don't worry, inshallah, Sheikh is yours, inshallah. Let me ask you, when you were in Dar just now, what topics did you choose to lecture on? What areas did you decide to go with in lecturing for the first 10 days?
Um, we've got it was a load of different ones, to be honest. But I was targeting more younger people from maybe 16 to 45, working with that age group. So it was specific to the issues and problems that are there in Dar, talking around those issues and stuff like that.
Have you noticed that communities in, in Africa and maybe in Dubai and what we would consider to be the global south or east, whatever word you want to give that, are those issues the same as the ones you find in the UK and America and Canada, or are they different?
I think right now they're about the same, with the addition of maybe the sense of original culture is stronger, whereas we've learnt to amalgamate and integrate newer things, maybe move away from certain cultural aspects that were not Islamic. So we've sort of allowed ourselves to live more of a slightly more Islamic lifestyle in terms of certain things in the West.
Yeah.
Whereas I find in the East, they're still dealing with that battle. But because of social media, because of all of this sort of sharing of information, trends, and all that rubbish, uh, you see that the issues are pretty much the same
I was
across the
gonna say
board.
something and then I stopped myself. I was gonna say also because of the individuals who are lecturing and speaking in English, they tend to equalize out the content that's delivered everywhere. But then I saw you write something earlier today about people who associate individuals with deen. And the problem that
Yeah,
comes with that is, if one person makes a mistake, the whole deen suffers and they want to cancel this person. And this culture is very backwards. I know you've got a lot to say about that. How does that apply here?
yeah. It's the same. I mean, it's this whole celebrity culture thing that we've created for ourselves. It stems from so much. It comes from so much. Most of it is the obsession to be like the West, right?
Right.
So I, as a speaker, have this desire to have this sort of amazing crowd, like Western speakers have this amazing crowd on non-Islamic things. They have all this celebrity status. So in me, there's like this thing that, oh, I'm going to try and, work towards that. There's so many different things that we do, like these gala dinners, and you guys have heard me bang on about those plenty of times. And I know the gala dinner organizers around the world don't agree with me on this point, but genuinely, this whole imitation, I can't go to the Oscars, so let me make my own halal version of the kafir culture type of thing that's happening. And also, and so then it then goes on to the um, the religion that we have is based on personalities. It's not for the
Mm.
religion's sake, as it were. So when I said in that post on Facebook that when Amir al-Mu'mineen, the Battle of Jamal, someone comes up to him and says, "Are you on haqq or is Aisha on haqq?" Imam Ali alayhi salam doesn't say, "Look, I'm on haqq. Look who I've got with me. Look at all the people. Look at who's on that side. I'm the Khalifa." He says, "No." He says, "Look, first of all, understand haqq. Identify
Mm.
haqq. What is haqq? Then identify the people of haqq." We flip it on its head because of this celebrity culture and everything that we do. We just think that whatever Nabil Awan says is deen, that's correct, and so then when the day that Nabil Awan says something that we don't like, then we trash him as well, and or it's if he stumbles, then our faith also stumbles, uh, because
Yeah.
we've linked it to certain people, certain personalities that sit on the member. And so then it becomes very difficult to discuss pertinent issues because
Hmm.
instantly, and especially as a speaker, and you'll know this as well, that the moment you try and, let's say, address a matter straight, and there's maybe a speaker linked to it, a particular project, straight away people are gonna be like, "Oh, you're cussing out that speaker. You're trying to have a dig at him,"
Right.
and you're like, "No, I'm not. Really, I'm not. I'm really cool with the guy. We're okay. We're on good terms." But in reality,
Yeah.
what I'm trying to do is highlight the issue here. Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, all well and good that scholar or that speaker may have their own justifications, but I, as someone who's looking in at it, have a different perspective, you know. And it doesn't mean that I'm against the personality. It's just, you know, why can't we discuss concepts? And that's the problem.
Yeah.
We are so, like, you know, when there's a difference of opinion, we just go mad and we're like, this person, and you know, just be happy, like, just be like, okay, you know, we've got to learn to be like, all right, fine, cool. It's a difference of opinion.
Yeah.
Great. But, you know, it doesn't matter. And that's I think a problem, and a lot of it is stemming from this sort of Western culture, you know, this Hello Magazine gossip type culture, and it's infiltrated our lives, that we sort of now associate things from the deen towards personalities, and we take haqq from personalities rather than haqq itself, and then trying to find who fits within
Yeah.
that haqq.
I think what you've described is actually a problem of what are the foundations of our belief, right? And for a lot of people, those foundations have been a phase or a trend or a group of people, or in some cases, a scholar or an individual. And for them, it's like the majority of their need to be religious or practice Islam is because of that person or that, you know, trend. Trend is a good word because, you know, we have that saying that those who enter the deen by trends or phases will leave by those phases. And you see it all the time. People have this jazba, this excitement that, you know, I want to be religious because of that person or this new fashionable way of being religious. We've seen it a lot in the UK, I think, around the world. And then when that person who's an insan is fallible naturally, and they have their own way of doing, you know, their own journey, when they stumble on one issue or take a risk or have a different opinion, bro, my whole deen is suffers because of that person. And I think we never read enough to make our foundations of our faith something stable. It was always unstable. That's my analysis.
Yeah, without doubt, without doubt. Much of our deen, much of our religion is based on, like, just stuff that we've heard. Literally, it is what we've heard off the minbar, what we've heard from someone. No one's actually gone into the depth. And so this is why at times you can have people who are saying things that are totally against the deen, totally wrong, and all of a sudden we're shook to our core. And that's one of the reasons we're so reactive, because we're hollow, we don't have anything ourselves, we're not stable in our own faith, so we end up being reactionary. The moment this new group comes, the moment this we have to take them down, we're under the banner of Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar, and we're like going for them. But it's like, if you are at peace with yourself, the whole world can go to pot. I mean, you know, my lecture series for Dubai will be about this, creating inner peace, while, you know, the whole world around you is going to pot, and there's bala and there's difficulties and things and problems that are happening. But how is it that you maintain that inner peace yourself? And when you're at peace within yourself, then, you know, then there's nothing that can shake you. And then you're not like, you don't get up on your high horse and like, this person's a kafir and this person's a deviant. It's like, okay, all right, fine. You know, it's just another person, and, you know, the people of haqq will know that this person is on batil, or this idea is not conducive to spiritual growth.
In these podcasts, we usually start slow and get going. You've come in with straight fire. So,
but you asked the fire question.
I did.
I've only got one speed. I've only got one gear. You know that.
No, this is the nature of podcasts, you know. If you ask the right question, you get an interesting answer. That's how these things work. You said one thing there that many things I like. One thing I really like, which was about if two people disagree, how does that affect a third person? Okay. And I think what I've noticed, at least recently, is when, let's say, there are people who have prominent positions in our community, if they have a unique idea, or they take a risk, which as a scholar, you're allowed to experiment with ideas and go on your own journey. And sometimes, some cases, they have left the mainstream, whatever they've done. I've noticed for some people that has been a heavily traumatic thing for them. Like, they can't reconcile their own faith with someone who seems to be religious, showing a sign of something which doesn't seem religious in their view. And I wonder, for someone who's listening, thinking, why do my favorite speakers or role models keep doing this bad thing and la la la? What's a more healthy way for them to compartmentalize the role of the speaker in their own personal religious life?
Sorry, you cut out there. Did you say what was the more healthy balance?
Yeah, what's a more healthy way of for a person to look at the role of a speaker in their own personal religiosity?
Yeah, I think you look at a speaker or someone. Yeah, by speaker I mean anyone who comes on the minbar. Now, it's sometimes those speakers, the people that are speaking are scholars, and sometimes they're not scholars. They're just students, right? Um, Regardless of that, you should look at the minbar as being a supplement. Like you look
Yeah.
so you look at it as like a top up of your deen, but the main bulk of the work has to be done by you. The main bulk of the work
Hmm.
needs to be you actually, researching and understanding the deen, and then because remember, a speaker or a scholar, no matter how great they are, for 45 minutes they've studied 5 6 hours, and they're giving you what is, the lubul lubab of those 5 6 hours in those 45 minutes. If you're lucky, you might end up getting 30 minutes, right? 25 minutes some places. And they give you 6 hours in 25 minutes, but it's not the same. It's not the depth. It's just an indication and of what you need to then go and do. So I think, we really do have to move away from this idea of like celebrity. We don't even nowadays, at times we don't even listen to what the person is saying. It's just the fact that I idolize this person, so whatever this person says is going to be right. Yeah. So I think we have to look at the member as a supplement. Yeah, you have to put in the hard work,
Mm.
and the member supplements. Obviously, that's a member in your average Husseiniya. If it's a member in a hawza where someone is sitting and you're in class like Baht al-Kharij, then that's not a supplement. That's an actual class. But as a general in the West, the traditional sense of the member, as we know it, it has to be looked at as a supplement. You shouldn't be taking, you know, your full deen, because if that's what you're doing, then in reality, all you're getting is 20% of the deen, because 80% or the 100% that speaker or that scholar put in to giving you a 20%, squeezed out juice of what they've learned. So, and you've
Yeah.
taken that and you've watered that down a bit. And so now you're with like sort of 15, 16% deen, understanding of the deen, as it were. So
Right.
it does require a person to put some effort in. And so they need to look at people that sit on the manabir as supplements. Obviously, that doesn't mean that we disrespect them and we don't show them any respect. No, that it's a two-way street. We have a hadith from the Holy Prophet that says uh, the scholar who expects people should stand for him should expect a place for himself in hell. If he
Wow.
himself, inside himself, thinks, you know what, people should be standing for me. Don't they know who I am? Like, even that thought is like he should expect for himself a place in hell. But at the same time, on the flip side, there's responsibilities of the layman towards the scholars as well. Like, what do we have to do for the scholars, and the respect that we have to show for those individuals? So it's a sort of a two-way street.
So let's do it then. So if you take away the whole role of the member, we have people here right now in Shahr Ramadan listening, thinking, I want to take responsibility for my ilm. I wanna take it on me. Like I'm gonna live and die and be judged on my understanding of my a'mal. How do we, what's a good way of learning Islam, a practical way of learning this religion, in a way which is more sustainable than, the mimbar? Because people don't read the way they used to these days. People consume knowledge in a different way. And let's be practical about this. How do we gain ilm in a way that actually strengthens my foundations, but it's useful advice, not just like, the things I've been hearing all the time. Those who read this much in the mornings and those who do this a'mal and those who go to Hajj. We can't all go to Hawza. Ironically, I'm in a Hawza while I'm saying it, but we can't all go to Hawza. So what can the normal person do to take responsibility of their ilm?
Yeah. You see, the thing is that what do you classify as ilm, right? Uh,
Mm.
Ilm, like in how you described it, I would say no, that's the retention of information. And the retention of information can be gained from books or YouTube videos, whatever. Ilm is nur, is a light that is
Absolutely.
illuminated in the hearts by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's about from the tazkiyah, from that person's tazkiyah to nafs, from that person's tawadhu, their humbleness and stuff. They may only study for a short time, but achieve, unlock a lot from that because of that spiritual purity within themselves. And I think we've begun to look at ilm in the Western sense as well, that it's about certifications and it's about what institute and all of these sort of things, although those are good checks and balances to have, but in reality ilm is something that comes from light that is inspired by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And yeah, what is the best way of sort of remaining or increasing that knowledge, that true knowledge, is one focuses on their spirituality, on their ibadat, on their journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And at the same time, you have to search. Ilm is not, every hadith that you look at, there is no easy way of learning knowledge. You can't self-hypnotize yourself and listen to an audio book at night and by the morning you're gonna have remembered it. You can't sleep on a pile of books and by the morning the knowledge is gonna have transferred itself to you. The fact is, you have to put in the effort. The same way, if you're gonna go to the gym, you're gonna have to put in the effort for you to change your status. Either if that is, it can be through consuming a series of lectures, like someone does an in-depth lecture. I guess in English we don't have that much, that so much. Like in Farsi and stuff, like the Maraja and prominent scholars, they do whole tafasir, whole sharh of
Yeah.
many of the different books and ziyarat and ad'iyat and things like that from Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam. But it's about finding those and then just putting a little bit of effort in from yourself in terms of focus on your aqaid, first of all. Like understand Tawheed, understand Nabuwa, understand Imama, understand Qiyamah, understand why Adala is in there from all the other sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like, be sound in your aqaid, and at the same time, when you're being mutadayyin and you're avoiding sins and you're staying away from all of these haram actions, it will at the same, that light will begin to expand in your heart. And then it's always good to keep yourself connected on a personal level with scholars, with sound scholars, that you're at a personal level, not like a scholar that you got a message and they're not going to get back to you, or someone that, your local resident alim or someone that is there, that is not, given all of this special protocol and status and all of that, but it's an alim nonetheless. Attach yourself to that person. Bounce your questions off that. It's a better way of understanding. But in short, if you want to gain knowledge, you have to put the effort in. There's no easy way out of it. Yes, once you're putting a little bit of effort and if you're preparing yourself spiritually, then that begins to increase in yourself tenfold.
Beautiful. Thank you for the example of the gym. Every time I do a podcast with you, you use the gym or fitness as a metaphor to describe what you're describing. It's ironic because I was sitting with some ulama recently and we were discussing, shayukh need to become stronger and, fighters. We said, who's the best? And someone said it's Nabil Awan. I mean, he's the one who he'd go karate chop you while you're speaking. On your last point, you know how it makes me think of? It makes me think that, there are many teachers, but there are very few ustad among them. And that difference is basically what you're describing. You'll find people who will give you knowledge and maybe an expert on a very particular niche area, but do they embody the nur of that ilm in a way that they are an example of what they're teaching? And that's when ustad comes in. And mentioning scholars, great, because you're right. The alim who you've grown up with maybe has seen you grow, understands you, and they don't have maybe that status or that YouTube channel or whatever, but they have the
Mm.
virtue of being there every Friday, and you can go and speak to them. And that's the way that we have ilm. In our tradition, it's our inheritance. Every student, every Musa finds a Khidr, every individual finds a teacher, and you grow together. When I speak about this,
Mm.
people often say to me, you know, does that belong to a bygone age where you find an ustad for your own personal spirituality? And I answer, no. You have to look, but you will find people around you. Have you found the same thing where you're telling people, like, find a person of knowledge to attach yourself to? You know, how does that work for us now today?
You know, the thing is that
Oh, one second, one second,
we
one
have
second. Sorry, Sheikh.
a
Sorry to
narration.
interrupt you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've just seen my mother has just logged in. So, assalamu alaikum to my mum. I'm just letting her know that when I'm done filming, I'll come home. Okay, carry on, please. Inshallah.
uh, so what it is, yeah, it's quite interesting. There's a hadith from the Holy Prophet, and I remember Ayatollah Mujtahidi Tehrani he was discussing this. He says that, you know, the pure heart influences the hearts. So there are many that will give you information or maybe giving you knowledge, but it won't change you. It won't open your heart. It won't bring you closer to God. It will be literally coming in from one ear, out the other. Or you might retain it for going to debate with someone and making someone else feel silly or whatever, right? But pure, you know, you'll have that. There are certain teachers that you'll come across that their words are just straight away teachers. They're the ones that will really change your life, because it's the pure heart that influences the heart. If it is a heart that is corrupted by desire for fame or desire to be known or the desire to have like freebies thrown at them, right? Then that teacher or that so-called teacher will teach but won't influence your heart. It is only the pure heart that pierces through the hearts. And so when you are looking, you know, you look for one who has massive influence. And then we have so many riwayat, like look for the scholar that, or the alim or the teacher, that they do not inspire within you hubb ad-dunya. Yeah? Like you look at their lifestyle and you're not like, oh, I wish I could have one of those. Oh, I wish I could wear one of those. You know, it doesn't inspire hubb ad-dunya in you. And there are some teachers like that who you will sit with and they're so down to earth, and all the inspiration you get, like what you're getting off them is, I just want to be like this person in the sense of their relationship with God. Yeah, not I want to be like this person because wow, his clothing, or wow, his watch, or you know. So it's always find someone like the ulama su are those that will, when they speak, they will attach you to the dunya. They won't attach you to the akhirah. And it's weird, right? Because they're going to be talking about the religion. So how is it that they're talking about the religion, but they're still attaching you to the dunya? Because at times they'll be talking about the religion, but at the same time they'll be talking about themselves and all the travels they've had and all the things that and I saw in this community. And somewhere in there, you're sitting there, or I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, I wish I could also travel the world, right? Straight away, you know, they're like, boom, attach me to the world. So at times, you know, you have to find really the pure heart. You know, those that have nothing to gain by teaching you, by being, you know, they just, they don't. And when you sit with them, you're not thinking about how am I going to make my next million or how am I going to become financially stable. You're just thinking about how am I going to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, it reminds me of why I selected this title for today's talk, gaining ilm or gaining weight. It's because of the ayah of Quran. فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانِ عَلَى طَعَامِهِ. You know, people, especially now in Shahr Ramadan, we're always looking at our food and we're so particular. When am I eating? What am I eating? What ingredient? You know, what's good for my fitness, my regime? And the hadith is, the way that you regard your food, why don't you regard the ilm in the same way that you are inserting into your heart? And it's a beautiful point. Why can't we be this particular about our knowledge and who gives it? Or by chance we see a thing on Instagram and we become convinced. But when did we actually take responsibility for our own ilm and say, you know what, I'm going to focus on this area. I'm lacking in my aqaid. I'm lacking in my tafsir. And I'm going to focus on it. You mentioned aqaid. Once someone's theology is pretty, fundamental. They've got their aqaid. They know their tawheed. They understand key issues of nubuwwah and imamat. What's next? How do we supplement the basics? What's a sensible way of gaining on the fundamentals?
Yeah. There's something that came to my mind when you were talking about, ilm and food and stuff like that. There is one similarity between it. We'd like to take selfies with both, right? With the alim and
That's
with the
true.
food. Like
That's very
there's
true.
both things in the current time that everybody wants to take photos of their food and take photos of their
What does
favorite
that say
speaker or
about
whatever.
our appetite,
Yeah, exactly. Um, And the thing is, it's weird, isn't it? Even on that point, like outside of Shahr Ramadan, I'm starving. Go to a nice restaurant, and I'll take a photo first. Make everyone else wait, so I can just Snapchat the whole array of food. But outside of Shahr Ramadan, I'm like, hell no, get out the way. Let me eat. Yeah. And it's like, if there's anywhere that you should be doing some sort of restraint. But anyway, I digress. Um,
You're just hungry, aren't? Or you're just eating. That's what this is.
oh,
You've had your start.
Why, you
Someone
haven't?
did want to know. I already, yeah. We went to a very well-known restaurant. I don't want to mention it because they'll ask for royalties or payment for sponsoring the
Mm.
podcast. But someone wanted to know what's your favorite iftar is. So I'm going to ask you, Sheikh, what's your ideal iftar?
Ask me.
Someone wanted to know your favorite. What's your ideal? I don't know, iftar or meal that maybe they want to prepare it for you. I
Favorite?
don't
I
know.
don't. So this is something like really weird. I don't have a favorite anything in life. Um, I don't know why. I just don't. I appreciate everything for what it is. So I don't have a favorite food. I don't have a favorite color. I don't have a favorite car. I don't have a favorite anything. It's just
Mm.
I appreciate everything for what it is at that particular moment. So I don't really know what my ideal iftar is. Maybe once I've read Sheikh Jaffar's new book, I'll maybe find
Yeah.
a thing. I think it's in the post to me right now, so
He's
I'm
coming on the
hoping.
podcast
Uh,
soon. I'm not going to say what
yeah.
day, but so when he comes, I can ask him on your behalf. Sheikh Nabil wanted to know what's the best iftar and see
What's
what he
his
says.
favorite? The best iftar. It would be dates, right? That would probably be from the
Something
Holy
like
Prophet. But I
extremely
think I
holy,
think
something very.
yeah. I think it's weird that relationship that we have with food, and going back to
Yeah.
the idea of ilm. Yeah, food is. We have so many ahadith that talk about akhir zaman, or talk about people. So like, there's one from about akhir zaman. The Holy Prophet is saying that there'll come a time, ya'ti al nas zaman. There'll come a time upon the people where they'll do certain things, and one of those things is وَبُطُونُهُمْ آلِهَتُهُمْ. Their stomachs will become
Mm.
their gods. Yeah, everything they do will be for their stomach. Or then Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, when he talks about someone, some say maybe it's his childhood friend Uthman, and or maybe someone else that he's talking about. It's not clear. The Shari'een have given different opinions, but he says that Ali used to have a brother, yeah, who was
كان
honored in
لي
my
فيما أخ في
eyes.
الله. This one, yeah.
Yeah. وَصَغَرَ الدُّنْيَا فِي عَيْنِهِ. And the reason he was honored in the eyes of Ali, because the dunya was small in his eyes. And then he carries on. He says, وَخَارَجَ مِنْ سُلْطَانِ بَطْنِهِ.
بطن
He had
صح yeah.
removed himself from the sovereignty of his stomach. His stomach no longer ruled over him. It influences our personality. It influences our, we are we need, the whole point of fasting is that you feel hunger. That's the whole point of it. All these, special diets, eat this at iftar and eat this at suhoor, and it'll keep you feeling fuller for longer. No, that's not the point. You're supposed to feel hungry, because in
Yeah.
that feeling of hunger is your closeness to God. But it's also to sort of detach yourself from the need, from the change in your personality and your spirituality when you're hungry, to sort of detach yourself from the influence that hunger has over your personality. And that's like where you've got to be able to detach yourself from that. So we're really picky about what we eat
Yeah.
and stuff like that, but we're not really picky about what we feed our souls. And there's a hadith from, I think, Imam al-Hassan to the same effect, that I'm shocked at the person that is worried about that which he puts in his stomach, but he's not worried about what he feeds his soul.
Yeah.
And so, we hear all of this. I mean, we like fast food and stuff like that, right? But we hear all this bad stuff about fast food, and but we also got fast food ilm as well, and that's like a YouTube video, 5-minute YouTube video, or a skim read of a book, or just in my own arrogance, I just listen to someone, and just because I'm a good debater, or I've got time on my hands, I'm like, oh no, I don't agree with this, I don't agree with this, without even understanding any of the sort of the reasoning and the way things are done. So it is really important that obviously what we're putting in our stomachs is very important, because that directly correlates to our spirituality anyway. But it is really important that when we're looking at knowledge and the gaining of knowledge, we have to look whether the source is pure.
Yeah.
And I know Said Muhammad Rizvi, may Allah prolong his life, in Canada, I was speaking to him, and he was saying, there was a clip of mine that went viral some years ago, a clip of his, where he was speaking about, like scholars and speakers, people who should be on the member. And
Oh
he was
yeah.
like, you have one type, which is, Abi Kathir. Like, there's a lot, this is someone who has a lot of knowledge. He's able to sit there. But then you have Abi Qalil. But as long as that Abi Qalil, the one that doesn't have much knowledge, is connected with a heavyweight scholar, then that should be fine. But if you have someone who is Abi Qalil and not connected to anything within the establishment, and is just giving their own opinion left, right, and center, then that Abi Kathir it won't purify you. It
Yeah.
won't, it will just corrupt you and destroy you. And I think that's one thing that we need to look at. Like, okay, this knowledge that I'm gaining, what is it attached to? This book that I'm reading, who is its author, or whose student was he? Like, that silsila that we have.
And that since that what you mentioned, this is our inheritance. We've inherited, teacher after teacher, student after student. I remember in Najaf, in the house of Najaf, there's a source of pride that we are directly connected to the line of Sheikh Tusi, because literally every teacher goes back to that same line. In Iran, they have a similar idea. And actually, the inheritance of Ahlul Bayt is ilm. Like, that's the thing they have left behind for us. To not take this seriously is to, in many ways, not take their legacy seriously.
Yeah.
I wanna put this to you. When I'm researching on ideas about ilm and knowledge from the Ahlul Bayt, I see a very high threshold for the Shia about how much ilm they should have, and they should be always, talab al-ilm and all these things, and seeking to improve themselves. And then I look at our community and myself in it, and I see that I'm way short of that standard, which the Imams are saying the Shia should be qualifying for, let alone, that best, just the base standard for calling yourself our follower. And I wonder, is there a time or a reason why, if you agree that ilm is not as important as it should be to us, when did it happen that we didn't prioritize as much? Did something happen, or do we make some choice as a community where we chose something instead of ilm? Because my thinking is what I see in the books and what I see in front of me are not the same thing, and I want to understand why.
Yeah. I think it is a difficult one. And fundamentally, it is because we got bogged down with the dunyavi life, right? We got bogged down with everything, and we just sort of didn't have time for God anymore. It's like this, God became this myth. Like you have like ancient civilizations that maybe had like a prophet and stuff, and then that a myth. That prophet became a myth, and then eventually the myth became God, um, type
Yeah.
situation. And for us, God is almost like a myth, um, and so we don't really give him that much priority in our lives. Um, I remember I told Mujtahidi, he would say that there was time that he, from his teacher, he was talking about going into like certain masajid in Shahr Ramadan and counting 70, 80 people who in the qunut of their Salat al-Layl were reciting Dua Abi Hamza Thumali from by heart.
Wow.
Yeah? And these aren't ulama, these are just like average people. So from there to where we are now, where I can't even bother to recite the whole dua, like a generation that was there memorizing it and they were reciting it in the qunut of their Salatul Layl, to a generation that, sort of, I'll try and watch it at 2 times speed on YouTube just to tick the box, right? That I've
Right.
recited Dua Abu Hamza. Uh, so, being that downfall or where it happened, obviously we can argue that it is because the haqq of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam were not able to, spread their teachings in the way that they were. But that's as a general point. But we as Shi'as, especially in this time of Ghaybat al-Kubra,
Yeah.
we've become lax, right? There's no continual improvement. We go to work, we're at jobs, and we have CPD, and we're like constantly trying to pump up those CPD points, right? Because that's what I need, my continued professional development points. Yeah, I'm going on
Hmm.
this course and that one. But I don't have my continued spiritual development points. I don't do it. The narration say the mu'min's day, no 2 days are the same. What does that mean? Each day is an improvement on the day before. They always try and find something that
Yeah.
they're going to improve. The only way they're going to find something that they're going to improve is if they're doing muhasabah at the end of the day. That, man, I should have done that better. I shouldn't have lost my temper. I shouldn't have done that. And I think when there's that continual development, and when people are actually looking at their relationship with God as being uh, a journey that's both is internal, is going more inwards, نفخت فيه من روحي, right?
Yeah.
To uncover the divine aspect that exists. But the days are exactly the same. They're the same mundane routine that I get myself into. Um, and even if I've got my routine, but each day I'm not improving. I'm not like finding an extra dua to recite, even if it's an extra 5 lines of Quran or something. I'm just happy doing what I've done for the last 20 years because it's ticking the box and it's not rocking the boat. And so
Mm.
the pool of my soul is still. And then the moment someone throws a rock in it, all the garbage comes right back up again.
Wow.
And that's because I've just been stagnant. And so all of those issues that I had within me, they've all sunk to the bottom. And it happens in Shahr Ramadan all the time. I think, oh yeah, I've become so holy, so religious. A day of Eid comes and I hear music and I'm like, oh, that's my jam. Yeah? And it's like, wait. What went wrong here? What happened? You were supposed to be holy. I thought you broke out of the habit, but it's not.
Yeah.
All you did is let the habit sink to the bottom. Alama Tawatawai gives this example, by the way. It's not me. Like, I'm not giving you this profound example of yourself. Alama Tawatawai and Alama Tehrani. That it allows, like, the rubbish of your soul just sinks to the bottom because you don't agitate it. You don't actively try and remove it from your soul. And so it just all sinks to the bottom until some sort of trial, some sort of bala, and then as Sayyid al-Shuhada says, and then when bala comes upon them, kalla dayyanun, then very few of them are
Mm.
religious. Then all that
Exactly.
religion goes out the window. So there's no continued spiritual development. CSD, that's what we need in our lives. A continued spiritual development. We've got all the professional development at work, but we've got no continued spiritual development in our lives.
I had a point, but now I need to make an acronym too because you've made one. I would call it a kind of SGM, a spiritual growth mindset. Because what I was going to say was we have a growth mindset for everything.
Yeah.
In my internal battle, um, or for how much of my capacity is increasing for the love of God. I don't look at that thing as a thing to develop day by day. Whereas if we look at it honestly, the entire Quran and all of the prophets are on their own journey, and Ahlul Bayt are constantly telling us about ways to improve. Being stagnant and being still, that should cause someone to be completely uneasy with themselves. How can I be still or the same? Like how can I not grow? And I know not everyone has that approach for spirituality, but they have it for something in their life. They might have it for a game they're playing of, well, I have to get to the next level. They have it for a school, I've got to get the next grade. We should be looking at ourselves in the same way. We should be looking at ourselves as worth developing and worth growing. You know, like some
Yeah.
sort of rare flower which only shines certain colors if you water it day by day. Well, then water it day by day. Don't miss a day. You know,
Yeah.
and as we come up to the nights of Qadr, it's true, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It is. We just don't look at it as a priority, something that we've got to keep on developing and increasing in ourselves. It's just there. It's okay. And that's why the nights of Qadr come and the nights of Qadr go, and we don't change. We're exactly
Mm,
the same. You know, what is the sign that the night of Qadr has had an influence on you? It is that the next day when you wake up, there is something that has fundamentally changed about you. But when you're just
wow.
the same, and that night of Qadr, and those malaika and the Ruh al-Qudus and all of those things, the malakut being dragged towards the Hujjah of Allah, you know, entering, like going towards the Hujjah of Allah, and we benefiting through the barakah of His existence. But yet, still, we don't actually, gain anything. We don't actually change. Um, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, even if I've got a growth mindset, it only works when I actually want to grow. Or if I have a continued spiritual development. And, some people have it. And there's a WhatsApp group that's constantly sending our miles out left, right, and center. But it's not
Yeah,
changing
I'm in
anything
it.
because, yeah, because you're doing all of these a'mal and you're doing all of these sujood and du'as and all of that. But, fundamentally, you're still a rotten person, man. You're still you're still looking at you're still being nasty towards people, still backbiting, you're still rolling your eyes when someone talks to you, you're still avoiding talking to certain people because you think they're just crazy and they're going to do your head in. Like, you're not a nice person as it is, right? So that's why you can do as much as you want, but if your akhlaq isn't there, then it's all for naught.
Yeah. I want to say at this point that me and Agha Nabil can speak for hours on end and actually have, in the rare chance I'm in Peterborough and he's actually in town. So I want to put an artificial stop to our to our conversation and say if anyone listening wants to ask a question or mention a thought, this is the perfect time for. I've just seen one question now, and then I think we can end, unless there's another question, which is what can we do to make these nights, يعني, the nights of Ramadan and probably the nights of Qadr, to make us better? I'll rephrase and say what's one thing we can prioritize to take away from today's podcast. I'll add, so you don't take my one, is muhasaba, because you've said it already. Take that time out of your day before you sleep at the end of the day to reflect and take stock of how you've done that day in order to know what the goal should be for the next day and to know where to carry on and to identify gaps in ourselves that we should be honest about in order to fill with presence. So my one thing is muhasaba. Sheikh, if you could end the discussion, what's that one thing we can do in these nights to make us better?
Actually understand what it means to be in the month of Ramadan. Um, so from the first night, every single sin was forgiven. Yeah. So now straight away you started this already at a higher point. Number two, every time, everywhere else, throughout every other part of the year, you had to strive. It was like a tree, climbing a tree to be able to reach a fruit of spiritual greatness, right? But in this month, you don't need to move because the tree of the mercy of God and spirituality has sunken down under the weight of the mercy and the barakah of Allah and entered this plane. So you just got to
Wow.
stretch out your hand and take it. So now, not only are you sinless from the first night, not only have all the barakah come, and then on top of that, anfasukum tasbih. Your breath is tasbih. Your sleep is ibadat. Your actions are accepted. Your du'as are accepted. This takes urafa 60, 70 years of tazkiyat an-nafs to reach that point where their sleep is ibadat and their breath is tasbih. Right? But every single year in Shahr Ramadan, we have that opportunity, but we don't understand the opportunity that we have. And so we squander it. But if you understand, so the one thing I'm trying to say is understand this month. Straight away, you're sinless. Straight away, the branches of the mercy of God from the heavens have entered this world. Straight away, the Quran that you would recite and the spiritual maqam that you would achieve by finishing a whole Quran in other months of the year, you get that same spiritual maqam with one ayah of the Holy Quran in this month. You know, so imagine where you're going. So if you go with that mindset that, whoa, you know, if I had some opportunity to do like a hyperbolic training chamber, you know, like Dragon Ball Z reference, but for 80 years I could train for something, yeah, how great would I be? Well, Laylatul Qadr khayru min alf shahr. It's
Wallah.
83.3 years. So imagine where you should be going in that journey. You in Laylatul Qadr, every Laylatul Qadr night, you should quantum leap 83 years in spiritual growth. Having already jumped all of these maqamat from the first of the holy month. So just understand the opportunity that you have at your fingertips in this holy month.
What a beautiful way to end today's discussion. Thank you so much, Sheikh. I personally found that very powerful, and I hope the listeners can take some motivation from that to value every second that we have, inshallah. Good luck on your
Allah.
safe travels to Dubai, inshallah. Send our salams to the community. Unfortunately, we won't have
Inshallah.
you again for this podcast. Today's only that you can make. But I wonder before you go, I can be cheeky and ask you to give all the listeners a quick shout out for following the Monthly Reflections podcast page. If you give them a quick shout out, that will go a long way for us, inshallah.
Inshallah. Inshallah, we'll do. All right.
Thank you so much. Take care, inshallah. We'll see you soon. And everyone else, we'll see you tomorrow's every night discussion on Monthly Reflections podcast. Follow us and we'll discuss another topic, inshallah, and go further and further through the holy month. Thank you, Sheikh Nabil. Take care, inshallah.
Fi amanillah.
Jazakumullah. Fi amanillah. Pray for us, inshallah.
You too
See
as
you
well.
soon.
Thank you. Santa.
Take care, Abajan. Ma'as salam. And bye, everyone. Take care. Inshallah.